everyone. Welcome to Tuesdays with Trailblazers, brought to you by MarTech Edge, the video podcast where we bring you the latest trends and insights in marketing and technology. I'm your host Siddesh, and today we have with us Tom Harris, the CRO at SAP Emarsys, whose passion lies in fostering unparalleled experiences for customers, partners, and his invaluable team members. So without further ado, let's welcome Tom. Hey Tom, how are you doing today?
I'm very, very good. Absolute pleasure to be here. So excited to be speaking to you and your listeners and your viewers.
Likewise, Tom, we're excited to see how this pans out. So first question, Tom, you've been at Emarsys more than a decade, right? So from a sales manager to now the CRO, what has the journey been and what are some highlights? What are some challenges that you've faced that you'd like to share?
I mean, the highlight and the challenge is actually quite similar for me. Look, as a company evolves, grows, your customer base changes and grows, your teams, they change, they grow. The challenge is keeping up and communicating the changes, keeping the company going in the right direction. And, thanks to some incredibly talented leaders across the whole business, I've been lucky to be kind of at the forefront of, as we've made those changes, made those pivots over time. That's what's kind of, kept me growing through the organization. Great mentorship, great leadership, learning from those people, and also being, finger on the pulse when it comes to our customers and delivering exactly what you said, those all important experiences and satisfaction. So yeah, it doesn't really feel like the same company, although it is the same company. It's been through its various different stages of growth through an acquisition, and so felt different at various different periods throughout my tenure here. So that's what's kept me here and kept me going. We've got a fantastic team and fantastic customers that we work with day in, day out.
Great to know that. Wishing you more of a decade with the same company, and I hope to see how it pans out for you. Talking about DTC model, I'd love to know about how are CPG brands adapting to the DTC.
So, this is just becoming a hotter and hotter item. Our customers in the CPG space, they're really looking at how they can communicate more effectively with their customers than ever before. They're looking at how, although they've got multiple ways of transacting and engaging with their customers, they're looking for that direct customer experience. And what they're looking at is how they can have a value exchange. The value exchange that they want, the reason why they want to establish that is because they want data and they want insights into those customers. So really the areas where they're looking at is around personalization, omni-channel engagement, and that experience with the brand. And they want to establish that no matter how the customer wants to interact with that brand, be any avenue of commerce that customer wants to engage across. So that's kind of, a growing trend. And I don't actually see it slowing down, just like the channels keep coming and the ways to engage keep coming. I don't think that's going to slow down.
Makes perfect sense, Tom. Now, we all know about collecting first-party data, but how can these CPG brands collect and manage first-party data ethically?
So, we're getting right into it with the hot items, right? So the first layer when we're speaking to businesses, it's all about the trust and the transparency. Right, especially when you're starting to look at how you're going to leverage first-party data for things like artificial intelligence. If it's transparent, if it's ethical, then customers, they go, they want to come with that brand, and then they want to feel that experience coming back from that brand. They want to know how their data is going to be used, how that data is going to enrich their experience that they have with that business that they're giving it to. And this can come in many forms, right? It can come in the trade-off of what they get back from that data. So if a customer is giving insights into the types of products that they're using, for John Frieda, it's like the hair types that they have or the products that they use on their skin. If they give insights to that, they want to know that the recommendations coming back on what products to use and best use them, they're going to be accurate for that consumer. It's also around the incentivization tactics, it's around the rewards, it's around the loyalty status that they have. People like knowing that the brand values them, they like that they value their business at the same time. So there's a whole myriad of things that come out of the back of how brands want, how customers expect brands to use that first-party data, and transparency is at the forefront of that.
Great to know that. Now, you just spoke about loyalty, right? And now I just want to switch gears and talk about loyalty programs. So how do you believe loyalty programs can drive customer engagement and loyalty?
So first off, it starts with how the brand wants to think about loyalty, because there's many different flavors of it. And I would say that no customer is really one in the same that we work with that thinks about a loyalty program. Sometimes they go really heavy down the treatment route, making sure that, talking about sustainability, talking about how the product is made, talking about, giving customers a first preview, and that's loyalty. Other customers go, more tactically around rewards, incentivization, these types of components, and many are mixing the two. How can we give first previews to customers that are loyal, that have been multi-time purchasers, or they've been with a brand for a long time? Others are using it as a tactic to get more first-time customers engaged. What we know is that there's also, customers that, I think it's over 30% of them which we found in our customer loyalty index, they view it as, they will exchange customer loyalty in exchange for those incentives and those rewards. So there is still a really big focus on what customers get back for their loyalty. And loyalty most of the time does mean transacting, or what they're putting into that business, what they're buying.
Okay, perfect. Now, there's another hot topic around that's majorly about personalization with consumer trust. You see, how can these brands avoid the pitfalls of over-personalization?
Yeah, so for me and for many of the brands that I talk to, it's just striking that balance of communicating and then communicating around those key touch points with those customers. Personalization can very, very quickly go from something that a customer loves to experience to something where they can be a bit like, okay, this is getting too much. When we're working with customers on a really, we carry our devices around with us absolutely everywhere, right? And so when you look at personalization and the use of the expanded mobile channels, a lot of customers find push notifications incredibly useful, but that could very quickly go from useful to annoying if people start abusing that channel. And so what we're working with our customers on, especially when it comes to mobile channels, be it SMS, be it mobile wallet, be it push notifications in applications, and actually using personalization in apps, is how to find that balance between the data that a customer is giving and then the personalization that then comes back from that brand, from that customer. And some of those things, like I mentioned, that's, when I'm running for a flight, I want push notifications on gate changes. I want push notifications to let me know that my flight might be cancelled or my flight might be changed. That is incredibly useful. But, a huge amount of offers and incentives when I'm not looking to travel, that can then very quickly flip over to annoying. So it's all about finding that balance. And it's not necessarily that one is better than the other. It's about literally just finding that balance between sales-driven, promotional-driven, and then really finding value in those touch points as well to make sure that the customers continue to use them.
Absolutely. I mean, it goes by the age-old saying, too much of everything is not good.
Yeah. I know it too well.
Absolutely. Now, the recent trending topic, AI, right? I mean, what new AI applications are emerging in the collection and analysis of first-party data?
So for us, when we're looking at AI, we are looking at ways to enrich both the primary users of our technology and our platform, which is a customer engagement technology, SAP Emarsys, and also enriching the consumers' lives, so the consumers of our customers that we're serving. Right? Or, any of the customers that our customers are marketing to or engaging with. So on the marketer side, right, when you're thinking about how to make decisions on what content to use, what incentivization tactics to use, what segments to use, and how we can be truly useful to the marketer, that's where we're building technology. When you're looking at, for example, John Frieda, and then it's a new case study that's just come out on our website, so it's front of mind for me. But when you're looking at how John Frieda prepared for their new product launch, right? They were looking at asking our engine, right, who should we target, who should we segment, and using product level data. So that's where the AI is being incredibly useful in that aspect. And then for the consumer experience, it's making that journey that the customer's going on, the right channel, the right time, the right place, incredibly relevant for them, so that they don't feel, like I mentioned earlier, they're not getting too personalized to it. It's coming at the right time across the right channel that they want to engage, which is so important. So that's how we're using AI to make those decisions for the marketer and the consumer, to make that experience better in both.
Absolutely. And when I speak about AI, we also have these issues in terms of governance. We always have that healthy debate of, is AI, well, AI is good, what are the ethical implications? So in terms of governance, if we speak about, what are the ethical implications of using AI and CPG?
I think it goes back to transparency, right? So if you are going to use artificial intelligence, like in any area, and SAP Emarsys, we're constantly looking at the regulations that are coming out, and they're getting increasingly more progressive and more specific, which is fantastic. Transparency is at the forefront of all of this, right? So how is the data going to be used? How is the AI going to be used off the back of that data to, achieve what I was just speaking around making it better for the consumer, better for the people using the technologies that AI would be ultimately implemented across. And that really is at the forefront of the governance, right? So as long as customers go into it, as long as you're making it super clear around how it will be used, how AI will be used on that data set, and the customer's fully aware, then we're safe. Then it's adding value. Anything other than that, and that when it gets into an area where we really shouldn't be entering, and that will impact the trust over time.
Absolutely. Let's put the crystal ball in out there and understand Tom Harris's perspective of how is AI going to transform the CPG industry.
More relevant, more timely, more accurate communications that really deliver value back to that customer, right? So when we're looking at, what product should I buy next, or where should I go to get access to the latest collections? Customer, it needs to be able to predict that demand and be able to serve content and messaging to make the consumers' lives easier, and also just replacing for users of our technology, just to continue to replace more and more and more manual processes, where you're able to communicate with the technology as if it's that trusted co-pilot, being part of SAP Emarsys, working with the chief AI officer and speaking to him about his vision around Joule, the integrations that we're building, the data sets that are going into that. And when you're thinking about not just Emarsys, but when we broaden it to SAP, the amounts of manual processes that exist in the orchestrating these tools and technologies, which we're now overcoming with AI, which is so incredibly exciting. Productivity gains, efficiency gains that can be had by these teams so that they can focus on the real tasks at hand, offload some of those manual processes to the machine that can crunch it in the background for them. I think so. Just continuing on that convenience for everyone. Really, I think that's what AI unlocks.
Really sounds exciting. I've been following loyalty since a long time. Loyalty programs, I personally, with my experience, believe that Starbucks has been one of those companies which I believe does loyalty programs on a wonderful scale, right? I mean, they do that wonderfully. Any other examples that you want to share? And what does Tom Harris think? How our loyalty program is going to change in the next 5 years or 10 years?
So I have the fortune of working with just a huge amount of our customers. The loyalty journey. So Emarsys has a loyalty product, right? We've had it for many years, and it's just going up increasingly in demand from our customers. They want to find out more. They want to learn about the latest development roadmaps that's happening around it, the tactics that we're launching. And we've gone, when I was speaking to brands, they were always giving examples. The Starbucks one comes up quite often, but also ones where they create this higher tier of customers that are super tight to the brand. They get the first preview collections of what are coming out. We work with Puma a lot. They've got a lot of things that they're working with on customer loyalty. They've got a massive amount of products that they've got fantastic stores with in-store experiences, and they're looking at how they can best leverage their customer transactions, what they've engaged with the brand, how they are also adding, user-generated content, all of these things to reward that loyalty, to make sure that customer stays even more sticky. That's Puma's a fantastic example where I think people love the brand, they love the products, and they keep engaging. I think that's an area of loyalty. I'll make sure that we send across some as well that you can link to in the podcast afterwards as well.
Absolutely. And the last question I have is, CPG, consumer packaged goods companies out there. It's a very cluttered market, and they're spoiled for choices when they look at vendors, right? So when we look at such a cluttered market and a place where people are spoiled for choices, what should they be looking at when they're looking at vendors for customer engagement and loyalty? And this could be your elevator pitch as well, I guess.
So at Emarsys, our platform and our product has been architected around this unified personalization service. So what it's able to do is it's able to connect to a huge amount of data. Huge amounts. Mm-hmm. So we're connecting to SAP data sets. The customer is using those technologies. We're connecting to a huge amount SAP CDP, but also broader customer data platforms that are out there in the market. We're connecting to websites. We're connecting to supply chain systems. We're connecting to all of these areas where we can bring that data together. What the marketer is then able to do, and then enriched by our artificial intelligence engine, is be able to leverage that data and really personalize that end consumer experience. And when you think about a CPG brand that's trying to establish a direct connection with its customers, you've got to think about what is the value for that end consumer. So when we were speaking to one of our customers that works in the liquid tab space, right, the ones that you put into your washing machine and dryer, I didn't mention the customer name because I don't know whether we've got permission to talk about it publicly yet, but they were looking at, right, customers going to supermarkets to buy this product today. They buy it, and that's where they buy it en masse. But they want to really understand how their customers are using that product, the frequency that they're buying that product from. Now, if they want that data, they can obviously get it from their third-party sellers, but it'll be fairly aggregated. So what better way to do it than establish a value exchange for the customer? So now on their app, how's the customer using the product? How often do they use the product? Do they like the latest scents or smells that are going into it? Does it protect their products? Do they have any questions on it? And now they're creating this value exchange all built around this app. So now they're adding value to those customers that have been purchasing from a whole range of areas where they could transact. Now they're adding value to that customer. So now they're getting those insights in real time. They don't have to ask necessarily their third-party sellers. They can get it direct. And so that's how CPG is really evolving. And I think, at Emarsys, we're really thinking about that. That's at the forefront of how we're thinking about CPG engagement. They've got to add value to the customer. So we've got to launch technologies, tools, tricks, even in campaigns, how to bridge that gap between a customer that is transacting indirectly, most commonly with your business. So how can we unlock that? Customers that are in the high tech space, right? They provide washers, dryers. It's like warranties. So how can there be a one-stop area where we communicate around warranty so the customer doesn't have to, go through the files and look for the warranty on the product to try to get it? How can we make it super easy, leveraging the SAP technologies and Emarsys technologies in perfect harmony with the benefit of the customer experience? So yeah, there's all of these tips and tricks that we're speaking to CPG brands about. And that's what's making us really interesting for customers in this industry type, because we really get it. We get the industry dimension.
Perfect. Tom, I really enjoyed hosting you on our podcast, Tuesdays with Trailblazers. And thank you all for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review. Until next time, stay tuned with MarTech Edge for more insights into all things marketing and technology. Till we meet again, signing off, your host, Siddesh.